At this time, we're going to head into our candidate forum, which is co-sponsored by the Dunwoody Homeowners Association and our hometown newspaper, The Crier. If I could have all the candidates come on up and sit behind your name, that would be great. While they're doing that, I'll explain the format of tonight's candidate forum. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening. Then we will have 5 questions which have been prepared in advance, and the candidates do not know them. They have no idea what they are. They will have 1 minute to answer each question and then 1 minute to close. We're trying to get as much information as we can out of them in a short amount of time. So I will try and run it expeditiously, and hopefully you will all be able to learn something new about the candidates. At the close of the forum, we are going to go back into our monthly DHA meeting where Michael Smith, he is the Director of Public Works for the City of Dunwoody, is going to give an update on several of the projects going on in Dunwoody. So for those of you who are citizens here and who live here, I encourage you to stay. Michael is always full of information, and you will be able to ask him questions. And then after that, we're going to talk about the Light Up Dunwoody, which is the next event that the DHA does, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, as well as our membership drive. For those of you who don't know, the parade and Light Up Dunwoody and all the activities we do are pretty much solely funded by your membership. So if you're not a DHA member, I would ask why. Why not? So at this time, we are going to start, we'll do alphabetical order. If we want to start with, I guess we have, I'll just give a wave, Wendy Butler, Larry Denise, Nancy Jester, Tom Owens, and Holmes Piles as candidates for District 1 to replace Elaine Boyer. As soon as I get there we go. Wendy, go ahead and start, and with your 2 minutes. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Larry, thank you. Microphone, you guys can just pass those down.
Thank you for having me. My name is Wendy Butler, and I want to tell you why I am the most qualified candidate to serve you on the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners. I have the experience you can trust. I have raised 3 children with my husband Butch in Murphy-Candler. We've been there for 15 years. I have served on many DeKalb County zoning boards. I was appointed by the Speaker of the House to the Toll Authority. I also have served on the MARTA board for the last several years. I also have served on the Regional Chamber of Commerce, as well as started the Chamber of Commerce. I was at Alston and Bird for 7 years. They hired me when I was 5 months pregnant with my first child. After leaving Alston and Bird, I started my own law firm. I know what it's like to run a small business. I know what it's like to serve business. I know what it's like to serve the community. I have been a PTA mom, I am a soccer mom, and I have been a den mother. I have spent my life committed to community planning. After I finished college, I got a master's in community planning before I got a law degree. I have, like I said, worked on the MARTA board and helped transform that agency around. A $6 billion system now is growing and has a fiscally sound budget. I will work my hardest for openness, transparency, and bringing back DeKalb County's reputation as one where quality family and quality business wants to live and thrive. I believe in DeKalb County, and I want to help restore DeKalb County. I do have the qualifications, and I have the most expertise to bring to the table, to work across the table, to make sure that I am not just a critic of DeKalb County, but I am one that can help make a difference and move it in the right direction. If you want to find out more about me, you can find information at wendybutlerfordekab.com. I ask for your vote, and thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. Mr. Larry Denise. I am.
I'm Larry Denise. I'm a 30-year resident of District 1. I live in Brookhaven. I'm a fiscal and social conservative. I'm a veteran, and I'm a retired professional engineer. I have degrees in, I have a Master of Business Administration and in engineering degrees. I operate 2 small businesses. One is offers airplane and engine repair, and the other is a holding company of nuclear energy related patents. I have a 20-year history of community service and participation in county government. I served on the board of 3 homeowners associations as an officer, and I have been appointed to serve in numerous county committees in working on 2 rewrites of the zoning code, the 2005 bond referendum, and the development of miscellaneous ordinances. I was appointed to the Planning Commission and served there, and I was elected to a state agency which monitors clean water compliance for development projects in the county and all of the cities. I know the county, I know its cities, and I know its officials. I'm ready to work for you. I will not work for the special interest. I will not work for myself. I want to restore the integrity that you thought existed in District 1. Thank you.
Good evening. It's great to see everybody here. Our family is members of Kingsley here as well as Winter Hall, so this is home base. I'm the only one from Dunwoody running in the race, and I'm proud of that. This is a great community, and we have a lot to offer to the governance of the county as a whole. It does matter. I'm here to bring integrity, competence, and credibility back to DeKalb County government. You know that I will do this because you've elected me before, and I did just that on the school board, and that's what I'm going to do for DeKalb. The other thing I've done is offered you an unprecedented accessibility to an elected official. Before, during, and after I was elected, I had meetings. Coffee Talk with Nancy was a forum we had throughout the district, and I'll continue doing that. It's important not just to govern and lead, but it's important to communicate, and you know that I will do that. I have a website that I've kept active for years. I've blogged and communicated with you, so this is something I'm going to continue to offer. I'm also very focused on disclosure, which is something that we lack, I think, in DeKalb, that would have prevented some of the failures of governance that we've seen, as well as I think we need it in the state of Georgia. I've been a longtime advocate for what I call the online check register, and I'm going to bring that to the Commission 1 office if I am fortunate enough to be elected. That way you'll see in real time every dollar that gets spent from the Commission 1 office. So you won't have to worry about where's the money going? Did the check go out last month? You'll see in real time any bills that get paid or any expenses that get paid from the Commission 1 office. So I'm Nancy Jester. I'm asking for the support of my hometown. I'm asking for you to go and check me out on my website, nancyjester.com, and I would really appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't need a microphone because I served 4 years at Fort Benning, Georgia, training infantry soldiers. I know how to talk loud and clear to them, and my voice has saved many a life on the field of battle, and I'm proud of my loud voice. So if anybody cannot hear me, you need to get a hearing aid. But I'm Thomas Mitchell Owens. I was born in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and I'm a descendant of Robert Culberson, one of the heroes of the Battle of Kings Mountain. And I like DeKalb County. I've been here since 1960. I've attended schools here. I graduated from Georgia State University with a degree in common sense. And everybody's talking about qualifications, this or that, but what do you do with it? I want to show you, just last week, I filed 2 more ethics complaints in DeKalb County. And I'm working on that on a daily basis. I've already filed open records request for the P-card purchases in DeKalb. And the newspapers have said that I'm the only candidate that has tried to stop this corruption and expose it in DeKalb County. You can talk about qualifications, but what are you doing about it? I don't have to go somewhere and pay $10 for a cup of coffee and have some big reality show somewhere. I drink McDonald's coffee with senior citizens, 63 cents a cup, and I know what's going on. And please look at my website, and I could be retired and be home, but I'm stepping up to the plate to help the citizens of DeKalb County. Thank you very much.
have homes filed. I grew up in Crawford County, Georgia. I went to a one-room schoolhouse way back when. And I had 7 grades in that classroom. And we ended up, when we got into high school, World War II was going on. And I had 5 brothers to serve during World War II, and all of them came home safely because I think they had the training to be careful when you're working around mules and other animals. You have to learn to not walk up behind a mule and pat it on the back, walk in front. But anyway, I have been involved in watching politics all my life. I heard Gene Talmadge, not Herman, make speeches. I've heard all these politicians make promises, and then what happens after they get elected. But another thing that I'd like to point out to you, I worked with the state crime lab a number of years, and our police out there every day, and they are ridiculed, but they were the first responders, and I don't understand why we had to have agitators coming into our community.
Thank you, Mr. Piles. That's 2 minutes. All right, we're going to go on to our questions now. Thank you. Nancy, if you want to hand the wireless back down to Wendy. We're going to do alphabetical order. We have 5 questions, and then we'll drop one. So in this round, Wendy will start, then we'll go really Butler and all the way down, and then the second question, Mr. Denise will start. So, Ms. Butler, this is to you, and we'll just do 1 minute and then pass the microphone. Since the majority of District 1 either is or may be incorporated in the near future, what can DeKalb County do to improve the quality of life for District 1?
I believe in a citizen's right to self-determination. I was on the board that helped create the city of Brookhaven, and I believe it is up to DeKalb County to take a look at the services they provide and how they can work with each of the cities as each of the cities begin to grow and we have more and more cities. I think DeKalb County's role will change and the service that they provide will change. And with that should come a fresh look at how DeKalb County can focus on economic development, how it can focus on attracting businesses, how it can focus on working with the cities to provide the services that counties will continue to provide, and take a step back and support the cities in the services that they provide. I think with that, we will have a much stronger government. We will each have a close-knit community that we can call our home, while at the same time being proud of the county that is providing the services that work with our cities.
Thank you. Perfect. Mr. Denise.
There's probably 3 things that we can do on the commission. The first is no new taxes and hold the line on the taxes that we have. The second thing is we need to focus on improving the delivery of services to the cities. You're paying for those services and we have to provide them. The third thing that we need to do is pay attention to the crumbling infrastructure. We need to do more to upgrade our water systems and our sewer systems. And I applaud the fact that Dunwoody has recently entered into an intergovernment agreement that allows Dunwoody to help DeKalb County with that. We need to stop the times when we arrive with 5 people in one shovel. So, thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I think first of all, we need to improve, job number one is improving the perception issue that we have, because even though we'll have mostly municipal governments, the cities within District 1, we have a perception problem in DeKalb. So we first have to attack that, and I think that's why it's very important to elect a strong watchdog with a record for doing that in District 1. Then the second thing is, I really think the watershed department, this is a big issue. The customer service that we're getting there is just unconscionable. People are getting ridiculous bills. That department has to be looked at and reformed very quickly. And obviously, as a conservative, somebody who didn't vote for tax increases on the school board, we've got to make sure we are keeping the line on taxes and cutting the county government where it needs to be cut as we have more services provided to District 1 by cities.
I don't need a microphone. I can talk just as loud sitting down as I can standing up. But the two things I'm going to work on when I become commissioner, I want to go through the legislature and have, the legislature needs to do away with the CEO form of government, and we need to have P-card oversight. Fran Miller, who's in this room, told me he will not do anything to correct any of the form of government we have in DeKalb County. For us to get better and function better, we have to have more accountability for the P-card purchases and the CEO. And Fran said, just leave it as it is, and he's not going to do anything about it. And that's the problem. We need to be held more accountable. And that's what everybody's looking at, is a dysfunctional government, and that's the first step in getting it corrected.
Thank you.
Ethics seems to be the big question nowadays. And we got the technology to help the ethics situation. All you gotta do is give anybody gets a credit card or anything, a lie detector test. And it worked. I've seen it save a guy from going to the electric chair. And it's very simple to run one of these tests. And I don't understand why we have to spend a lot of money suing one another about what somebody has said or didn't do when you got the technology to take care of it.
Thank you, Mr. Piles. That's a minute. If you could pass the microphone down, we'll start with Mr. Denise for the second question. Question number 2 to the 5 candidates. What is your philosophy about development land use in DeKalb? What principles will guide your work in this area?
Well, the interesting thing is that there's likely to be little land area that the commission itself is going to have a say in how it's developed, because we're going to pass that kind of authority to the cities. It is true that District 1 could find itself with no unincorporated cabinet. Nevertheless, we have to support economic development because it's the only way to keep your property taxes low. And it creates jobs, which generally helps our economy. Also, it helps your host fund results. So I support whatever we can do to have reasonable economic development through District 1 and the rest of the county for that matter. Thank you.
My philosophy is that economic development has to be congruent with quality of life in our communities. Now, District 1 is heavily covered with the cities, so obviously that's who's going to deal with development in those areas. But again, as I stated in the first question, we have a perception problem with all of DeKalb. So we need to make sure, even as we're in District 1 in a city, that the rest of DeKalb, we have we have an interest in seeing that development that goes on there is beneficial to all of DeKalb, including the areas that have cities. So again, we need to make sure that whatever development happens, it's congruent with quality of life. Because if you kill quality of life with your development, then you're going to go into a death spiral. And we've seen that where folks then don't want to live there, and then it gets harder to make any development happen. So I think that is my overarching thought and philosophy about economic development.
Thanks, Nancy.
DeKalb.
Just a minute.
In my backyard, if y'all come over and see what's in my neighborhood, what's happened to land use in DeKalb County. When people come into DeKalb County, I want people to obey the law, obey the zoning laws. We don't want poverty in this county. I don't like poverty, and I want to empower people to improve themselves and keep their properties up. But when people just do whatever they want to their properties and people drive through, they don't want to live in DeKalb County. And then we get all these big fancy lawyers make a bunch of money, and they don't live here. I live here. I've seen what improper land use does to your neighborhood, and it's wrong. You know, if you live in this county, you obey our land laws and codes. And we don't need any more code enforcement people not to hire anymore, because I go down there in my investigation, half of them are sleeping in their vehicles down in Dekalb. And but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I have traveled all over the southeast, going into plants, looking at the situation. We used to have a bunch of foundries in this state. But when they passed the OSHA law, Occupational Health and Safety Administration took over. And that law was written by a bunch of lawyers. But when they started enforcing it, a lot of these places went out of business because they was afraid of being put in jail for causing some harm to somebody. Instead of supporting these places and trying to clean up the place, they threatened them with jail. And I took training up in Chicago on administering that law. And when you went into a plant, you would...
Thank you, Mr. Piles. That's a minute. Yep, you're done with your answer. Thank you. If you would pass the microphone to Ms. Jester. Oh, sorry, we're going to the top. My bad, Ms. Butler.
That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Land use to me is our neighborhoods, it is our parks, it is infrastructure. And infrastructure is something in DeKalb County, in all counties, that we need to focus on. In fact, it's a tremendous focus of the state. We need to fix our water, but we need to provide the roads and the bridges that make it safe for people to get one place to the next. We need to provide the sidewalks. We need to make sure that the neighborhoods are protected while we are bringing the infrastructure together to allow growth to occur. We not only will have new cities, but we're also going to have new community improvement districts. We're going to see the development of the GM plant. We need to work together with all of our partners, the state, our public-private partnerships, to bring the infrastructure together that supports our neighborhoods, that protects our green space, that protects our water source, and allows balanced growth for our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Just a minute.
Thank you.
All right, now to question 3, Ms. Jester. Okay, question 3. With the incorporation of Dunwoody, Brookhaven, and probably incorporation of Tucker or Lakeside, the amount of host money that is available for capital projects, 20%, will be directed towards the new cities, leaving 2/3 of the county without funds to pay for paving and other capital projects. How would you address this county-wide issue?
Well, I think that the county budget has to be looked at quite closely. I don't believe we have a shortage to deal a shortage of revenue to deal with the infrastructure issues in the non-municipalized areas of DeKalb. I think that we have a shortage of willpower and competence, and that's something that I'm going to bring and highlight as a commissioner. We do need to improve infrastructure around the county, but it's not going to, it doesn't require more taxes. I think it requires more capable planning and better use of the resources that we have.
I like cities, and it's good to have cities, and when you do have cities, you have more taxes and have better services. And I'm for predetermination to one city or not a city, but there's a lot of waste going on in DeKalb County. A lot of unnecessary waste, duplication of services. This past year alone, over $1 million was spent on P-card uses in DeKalb County. And that's what I've been investigating and trying to bring to light. And there's money out there, but you have to spend it wisely. Are we spending our money, or are we spending the federal money? And that's just a lot of, we got to get a handle on our budget. You know, how many people on this panel here have read the budget? I've read the budget for the last 5 years, and we're going to be like Detroit in 5 years if we don't get a handle on this budget and spending in the cities and the counties.
Thank you.
I tell you, one of the problems going on in this county is that zoning commission. They don't encourage anybody to come in unless it's a buddy-buddy system. They will let Home Depot come in, but you let a small business try to get started. They are harassing them with these things that on the books. And I witnessed and was the victim of this while I was taking care of my wife who had Alzheimer's. Her picture's back there. She was a big booster of the Sproul Arts Center. But she, when she was in the assisted living, I stayed with her till she passed away. Then I sold my house over here on Womack Road.
Thank you, Mr. Piles. If you would pass the microphone down to Ms. Butler.
Thank you. I do think that there is a shortage of funds for infrastructure projects, but that doesn't mean we need new taxes. And let me be very, very clear about that. I think that there are a lot of creative ways to enhance the private sector, to enhance economic development, to help pay for infrastructure. I agree we need to look at the budget, and we need to scrub the budget. But with the cooperation of our CIDs, with the cooperation of the state and the federal government, and with the cooperation of cities, we can create partnerships that allow the infrastructure to be developed. And one of the most amazing mechanisms has been the creation of CIDs in the state of Georgia. And we have new ones coming up in DeKalb County. We also have MARTA, that is a longtime favorite of the federal government. We have enormous credibility and opportunity to work together with
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
Thank you.
With regard to host, you may know that it's set up so right now there's an 80-20 split with 20% of the money raised by host going to capital projects. The interesting thing about that 20% is that it is calculated in a different way than is the 80%. So the 80% has been returned pretty much to the areas where it's generated. And the capital improvements part of that, though, uses a different formula, and there are equalization payments that actually result in some substantial funds going to the county. But let me just say that I would oppose an increase from the 20%. because I believe that the money should be returned to the homeowners. And I'm okay with it being 100% returned to the homeowners. There are two groups that are working on increasing that 20%.
Thank you,
Gotta
Mr.
stop
Denise.
them.
Mr. Owens, you'll be our first candidate to answer the fourth question. What is your Okay. What is your understanding of the DeKalb County budget in regards to the general fund? Which departments have the largest operating fund? And following the lead of new cities, which departments would you move towards privatization?
That's a trick question there, but I'll try to answer it. But there's a lot to say, there's a lot going on in DeKalb County. We don't know about it, and through this corruption, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of things that people don't know. And it just, there's the school system and the money there, and the budget is very critical. The cities are good, they need to manage their money and budget it, and privatization is good, and there's nothing wrong with that. And but my main concern is what do the citizens get and what benefits the citizens and the taxpayers, and that's what's important. I'm looking for senior citizen services, and just to look at it in an honest way and not try to do backdoor deals and screw everybody.
This way, Commissioner Pyle. Let's make sure.
Well, I would leave the budget up to some professional, because I never had a big enough budget to learn how to work and make a lot of money. But I will tell you one thing, that we've got the technology, just like all these people on welfare. We're the absent fathers. If you did a DNA test on every child born, you could hold that father responsible and have a two-parent family to raise a child and not raise a bunch of hoodlums out here preying on people. When you go home tonight, you may have your door kicked in, but what happens to the person that kicked your door in? He goes to jail for a few days.
Thank you, Mr. Piles. That's your minute. If you would pass the microphone down to Ms. Butler.
Right now, DeKalb County's budget is about $1.1 billion. Board of Commission, speak up a little bit, okay. Right now, DeKalb County's budget is about $1.1 billion. The Board of Commissioners controls a little over $500,000, about $550,000 of that. And I think the areas to focus on are the areas of Public Works, Department of Watershed, as well as the fire department. Right now, we have about 3 firemen per fire truck where we need 4. I think the areas to focus, again, are the Department of Watershed Management, is Public Works, and I think we need to continue to make the fire department as strong as it can be so that it can protect the cities and continue to do the job that DeKalb County expects it to do.
The problem with the general fund is that it includes people who wear a lot of different hats. And when we look at the money that we do spend, a lot of it, probably at least a third of it, does go to watershed management right now. But if we want to get our hands around what our total expenses is in the general fund, we really need to take a look at staffing. We need to take a look at overtime that's being paid, because we need a reallocation of resources. So fixing the general fund is an incremental process. It's not something we go out there and slice in half. Thank you.
The general fund is just has quite a bit of waste in it that we need to address, okay? And clearly we have problems with our public services, with police and fire. That's policing was a major motivation of why we have new cities. So we know we need to address that. Another issue, and I agree with the watershed department has to be looked at. I already had touched upon that. Another thing that hasn't been spoken about, so I want to address that, is the liabilities that we've taken on. In fact, they rated the pension plan to do an employee buyout, so we're paying that back at 7%, and this is a terrible liability for Dekalb citizens, and that needs to be looked at as well.
Thank you. All right, going into our fifth and final question. Mr. Piles, you're going to be the first speaker for this one. DeKalb County Fire has been running all fire trucks a man short compared to the national average, 3 versus 4. In addition, the number of retiring firemen is the same as the number of firemen coming out of the fire academy. This equals a net zero gain. How do you plan to address this issue?
I support the firemen any way you can, just like the police department. And I would be sure that they got their share of the budget, but at the same time, we need to do some training, some technical training with the fire department and the police department. There's been some murders here in the city of Dunwoody. It could have been solved if the police had a little more technical training in how to approach the subject. Invariably, the telephone lines on these cases have been cut, but the patrolmen out there know that you can cut that wire and do it.
Thank you, Mr. Piles. That's your minute. Thank you. If you pass the phone down to Ms. Butler.
It is a serious problem when we have, when we're losing experienced firefighters. And while we have new firefighters coming in, you're absolutely right that that is a net zero gain. And what we need to do is we need to incentivize firefighters in order to bring more qualified firefighters in so that we are not just looking at a new group of firefighters. And I think the way to bring more firefighters in is to take a look at the budget. I think we all know there's a lot of waste in the budget, and we need to allocate the resources where the priorities are. And with the new municipalization of DeKalb County and of District 1, I think firefighting is going to be one of the highest priorities, along with the Department of Watershed. But again, we have to look at the waste and allocate the resources where the priorities are. And that is a priority of District 1 and of DeKalb County, and that will continue to be a county service.
Thank you.
Well, if we're looking at an attrition in firefighters, we have to consider, is this a problem where the compensation doesn't match the risk? Or is there poor management? Or is there both? So somehow we've got to look at those two issues and make sure that our pay grades are comparable to others in the area. If it's bad management, that's another problem altogether. And we'll have to assess how that gets addressed. We also have to decide how many more do we need than a net zero increase. So that's another personnel issue.
Well, we've got to get serious about taking some of the recommendations that the audits of DeKalb County have given us. We know there's far too much waste in some areas. that has got to be dealt with, and therefore you can have a reallocation to the fire department. Because we can't compromise public safety just to ensure that the jobs program keeps on. That has got to stop. So we have to take serious and make sure we take a hard line with implementing the suggestions that various audits have brought forth about cutting the waste and overemployment in some areas. Thank you.
Fire and police are very important, and we don't have a good fire in this county, and we have poor services. It makes our property taxes go up because we have poor fire services. But we hire a lot of policemen, but we're losing a lot of them, and I believe a lot of these policemen in our metro area, and particularly DeKalb, leave and go to Marta and other cities, and that's the problem today. We need to fix it, but we need to have a good fire and make our property taxes, property insurance go down if we have excellent fire in place. And we need, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I believe, it hurts me when I see a policeman a fireman out there with a boot asking for money. They need to have everything they can to protect us, and they're the first responders, and we should never cut any budget, spare them any expense or equipment to protect us.
Okay, and that ends the question and answer portion of this evening. We'll go ahead and go to closing. And since we started with Ms. Butler, went alphabetical, we'll go ahead and reverse it. Mr. Piles, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
I have a piece of property that was zoned. I bought it in 1964 before there was any zoning law. I get back here and start working the property, and I find out that the zoning department had put in a regulation that you had to have an eighth-foot ground to run a car lot. Well, what they were doing was protecting the big car lots. But then they tell me they can't do anything about it because the commissioners put that regulation in. Well, who are the commissioners? Let's go back a minute. And I don't need a land use lawyer to go and ask the commission, the zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Piles. That's 1 minute. Appreciate your time. Mr. Owens?
Thank you for being here tonight, and if you want status quo and just things to go as they have been, you can vote for other candidates. But if you want somebody that's going to fight for corruption, expose corruption, and make DeKalb County better, I'm your candidate. I'm not this is not a beauty contest. I don't drink Starbucks coffee. I do real work. I like investigating. I like to expose corruption. I'm that candidate. I started it, and I'm working on it now, and elect me, and I will finish it, and I will make DeKalb County proud.
Hi, I'm Nancy Jester, and again, you can find out more about me on nancyjester.com. I'm a Dunwoody resident. I'm the mom to 3 kids that go to public school right here in Dunwoody. We've talked a lot about financial issues here tonight, and I'm the candidate with the most experienced financial background. I worked as an actuarial consultant for years, and I have a deep public policy understanding of best practices in governmental accounting and disclosure. I will keep your best interests at heart, and I will make sure to be accessible to you, have public meetings, and communicate with you in a variety of ways. Again, please check out my website, nancyjester.com, and I hope I've earned your support tonight. Thank you.
I promise to establish a culture and climate of ethical performance in the District 1 office. And we need to follow that up with audits that demonstrate the transparency of what we do. I have the background and the experience with the principal officials in the cities and in District 1 to enable cooperative performance with the other commissioners, all of whom I know. Without cooperation, without putting forth an expectation of cooperation and progress, we're not going to make it. So I ask for your vote. I like Tom's idea of you voting for me. Thank you.
My name is Wendy Butler, and I have the experience you can trust. I will demand the openness, the transparency that we all deserve. I have rolled my sleeves up and have been, Marta is a great example. We have used the experts to look at all of the departments. And in doing that, we have been able to turn that agency around, a $6 billion system. I have an unblemished record of service and honesty and working for the community. And I will not just go in there and be a critic. I will go in there and form partnerships and be proud to turn DeKalb County around. You can't just do that with finger pointing. You have to look inward. You have to look at everything, and you have to be willing to move it forward. I have the experience to move it forward. I am a land planner. I have a history of protecting neighborhoods, a history of economic development, and a history of being proud of DeKalb.
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
Thank you.
This concludes our candidate forum for tonight.